I'm going to be demonstrating a really fun haircut today. This haircut is versatile. Really, it's meant to be for hair maybe shoulder length or shorter. The beauty of this haircut is you're going to be able to learn graduation, disconnection, and over direction. So I'm going to be working with my carbon silk comb that's designed for cutting, for tinting, for styling, waving, a lot of different uses with these combs. It's also heat resistant. I'm going to be working with my precision cut shears. They're really designed ergonomically for balance. So your middle finger is kept closer to your thumb, so it ensures that you get a nice, precise, technical haircut every time. The way I've sectioned this haircut off is, I'm basically gonna work with 3 sections to keep it really easy to follow along. So the first section, I've gone from temple to temple, creating a V in the back. I've then gone just behind the ear, about an inch behind the ear. That's going to ensure that the length that I'm wanting to keep here behind the ear will happen. Then you've got your top section here. I'll be starting in the center back, vertically, working my way from center to left, center to right. I'll then incorporate in the sides. This is where the over direction will come in, depending on how much length do we want to keep here, how much do we want to frame the face, and what length are we looking at working with. Then I will follow and repeat on this side and do the same thing. This is also where you can make the decision of having some asymmetry. So you can really customize this haircut. One side could be slightly shorter than the other, less over direction. We'll talk about that as we walk through the cut. And then last, we'll incorporate the top into the haircut. So let's get started. So the first section is going to be right down the center. I'm taking a vertical center and I'm establishing my guideline. So I've established my guide here in the center back, creating the length that I desire. I'm holding my hands resting against the head, keeping my fingers taut away from the head to create that angle. I'm going to use a traveling guide, so I'm just going to take a small section from the previous guide that I cut, and I'm going to incorporate my next section into that. Again, I'm working with a traveling guide, keeping that balance through the back. If you want to create more length behind the ears, you can over direct and travel back further with your guide, like this. And what you can see is going to happen is I'm going to start building length behind the ear to shorter through the center. Continue to work from center to behind the ear. This is where I like to section the hair just behind the ear. The reason for that is we want to maintain that length. So often if you notice when you're cutting hair, say in a bob or a shape like this, you tend to get this bare spot here behind the ear because of where that hairline shifts around the ear. So I think it's very important that the sectioning stop not in front of the ear or at the ear, but just behind the ear. So it helps to ensure that you're going to keep that length that you desire behind the ear. At this point, you can decide, again, if you want to work with asymmetry, the left side could be shorter, the right side longer. So you could choose to over direct those last sections to create longer hair through here, hugging the jawline and enhancing that jawline. Again, that's something that will be up to you and the desire of the client that you're cutting. So for the most part, your hairline here and your length is established. This hairline is established. So if you want to make a more blunt, stronger line there, which often is desired, I would go in horizontally with my shears and I would just clean that away and create a much stronger, harder line. In this case, I like the idea of it being soft and feminine and a bit wispy. So what I'm going to do is just go in and slightly point cut in and just clean up those bits just slightly to create a little more of an even hairline, but keeping it quite soft. Moving into the side section, I've been using these beautiful clips here. I love that they're 2 clips in one. So they're a double hinge clip. So you can open here, secure your hair. You can open the next, secure that hair. So you can see that you're essentially getting 2 clips in one, basically. Double hinge, so it allows for a versatility, a lot of different options that you can use with these sectioning clips. So moving into the side, this is where we want to first establish what the length is that we're looking for here. The most important thing doing this haircut is that you want to make sure that the length that's desired here on the side by this client is the length that you're going to establish. I like to think of the most over direction possible would be here, bringing back to see where that falls on the hair. A little less over direction, a little less over direction. Okay, I'm taking my first section just behind the ear. And remember, this was so that we could create that length that we wanted to behind the ear and not be concerned with having that gap on the hair. So I'm using my last guideline on this side as the first guideline as I work into the side of the hair. So I can see my guide through the hair. And I'm going to continue now to incorporate that side into the back. So again, I'm going to now incorporate my side sections into the back. You can see the guide is there. I can see it through the section that I'm going to be cutting to ensure the balance of the haircut. Continue working through. And over directing as desired for the length that you want to create, with that beautiful over direction coming to slightly longer just to hit at the jaw. Because I wanted to make this haircut a little more cool and fun for this particular client, I've decided to work with a little bit of asymmetry. So I've taken this side slightly shorter. How I did that is just less over direction. So I followed what I did in the back with my traveling guide, guide to guide to guide to guide to guide, all the way through. That gave me a much shorter line on this side, and again, a little bit more asymmetry. This will tuck back, it'll hug closer, and also if she wears the hair down, it'll have a shorter angle to it. So now we're moving into the top, and something I love to talk about, even with a shorter haircut, is the versatility that you can have with any haircut. So often you hear the words like, I want this haircut, but I want it a little shorter. I want it a little longer. This is a great haircut and a great technique that you're able to actually work with the needs of that client. I like to establish my center part, working my guide through there, and then when I do my texturizing and my finishing of this haircut, that's when I can kind of customize on a side or another side or a center. All right, now we're going to establish our length on top. So the idea here is that we want to create balance from the front hairline all the way into the crown and occipital. Because this is the shortest length that we're left with in the back, here's again where the over direction comes in. If you want to go with it being a little shorter in the crown, I recommend over directing this all the way up. So this is your guide. And remember, the line that we're connecting is to the front hairline. So essentially we're connecting this line to this line. So the more we over direct here, the more length we're getting through this crown and occipital, and the more this over directs, the more length we're gonna create in the front. So if you're gonna have a fringe that's maybe just to the lip, maybe this hair is longer to begin with here and you wanna establish all of that length, that's gonna make the difference of how much you over direct. So I'm now connecting the V in the back into the front hairline. Here you have some options as well. Do you want over direct so that you create a disconnected veil that falls over this? This could actually be quite tight, and then this could all be a disconnected veil over it. If you're working with longer hair and establishing more of a heavy length through here, then you're gonna wanna blend it quite evenly as you're working your way through. So I'm gonna work through right at the point of where our V was. This is my guide, and I'm gonna continue here. And if you notice, I'm going from short to long. Continue at this angle all the way through into that front hairline. And remember, if you would desire longer length through the front and the hair is starting longer here, you can always continue to over direct even more to establish even more length through here. So essentially what we have again, demonstrating this angle through from shorter to longer. Now I'm going to continue to connect the sides and the top. Working off of a vertical diagonal pivot this way, I will continue to over direct, bringing everything up to the original guide and maintaining this angle of short to long. Continue taking those vertical diagonal sections. So now that I've completed the haircut, I've decided that I just need to do a little bit of debulking. Often I will do this during the refining process once the hair is dry, but in this case, this model has so much hair that it makes sense to do a little bit of debulking while the hair is still damp, and then after the blow dry, I'll go in and do my final refining. I usually spend about 75% of my time cutting the hair wet, getting it precise and technically sound. Then I go back in for the last 10 to 25% of refining once the hair is dry and styled. This texture shear comes in 3 different options. So there's 9 teeth, 15 teeth, or the 21 teeth. In this case, I'm using the 21 because I want to remove fine, lots of bulk and fine, because really I'm using it for blending. So now I'm just going to do a little bit of debulking on her damp hair with the Texture Cut 21. The idea here is I'm removing a good amount of hair and I'm sort of just blending this from that disconnected part into that nape area, so I get that nice kind of hugging effect in the nape. So I'm choosing to use the Heat Pro Copper Ceramic brush. It's a styler that comes in 2 varieties, 7-row or 9-row, depending on the density and length of the hair that you're working on. So I've chosen the 7-row. The copper plate helps to retain heat for faster drying. This brush is very lightweight and balanced, so it works really nice and ergonomically when you're doing these wrap drying techniques. So the key here is when you're working with this brush is to keep the blow dryer and the brush tandem with the hair, keeping it moving in different directions at all times. The tourmaline ionic bristles help to eliminate frizz and flyaways as you're drying the hair. So as you can see, we've completed the blow dry. The Heat Pro Styler 7-row has created this beautiful, shiny, frizz-free finish. I love the way that that technique can actually save you time from having to get an additional hot tool out and do your flat ironing. So another fun option would be to use your multi-styling round brush here. The thing I love about this is there's one handle and there's multiple different barrels that you can attach to the same handle. So essentially, one handle and lots of different opportunities for the amount of texture and curl that you can create. The ceramic ionic technology carries into these brushes as well. And you can see that the end is opened and the vented part has large holes that allows for the airflow to go through for a very quick, smooth blow dry. So I'm just going to create a little bit of texture on the longer side of this asymmetrical cut. So that's the beauty of the multi-brush. The handle detaches, the barrel can be left in the hair while the hair sets and cools and finishes drying. When it's finished, cool, very easy, it comes out. Very similar to what you can create with hot rollers or a roller set, something like that, and you're left there with this beautiful natural texture in the hair.